Welcome to the Humanergy Leadership Podcast, where we tackle your toughest leadership challenges and share practical tools to help you lead with impact.
Hey everybody, thanks for being with us. This is another one of our free workshops. We do host them every month. Check it out on the website for the schedule. Today's session is about what it means to lead humans in an AI-driven world. Not just keeping up with the technology, but staying thoughtful, grounded, and intentional as leaders while everything around us keeps accelerating. You'll hear ideas about using AI as support, something that can help clarify thinking and create perspective as complexity increases. One quick note before we get started, AI is meant to support your judgment, not replace it. Leadership still requires human discernment, values, and responsibility. We explore that idea a little more deeply in episode 236 of the Humanergy Leadership Podcast if you want to dig back into that. With that in mind, let's get started.
All right. Welcome, y'all. Thank you so much for being here. I always want to start with thank yous. We know you are busy. We know you have lots on your mind, lots on your calendar. So when you carve out space for this and to be here and to learn from other leaders, we just really appreciate it. In fact, one of the things I value most about this space is that in preparation for this, because we know you're going to be showing up, it gives us time to think more deeply about topics that are important to us as leaders. And so my role today is really, in a lot of ways, having thought more deeply about this particular topic of leading humans in an AI kind of world, is to really challenge our thinking and hopefully give us some clarity too at the end of the day. But before I do that, I want to welcome you to February. I think this is a really cool month. While many people probably aren't thinking that, the Northern Hemisphere is getting closer and closer to the sun again. It's tilting back, right? So I want to offer you or wish you moments of apricity. And if you don't know what apricity is, it's a super cool word. You can write it down. It starts with an A. And I want to wish you moments of apricity. So you will find these in February and into March. It's a great part of the winter experience. And so on that note, I'm going to jump in with our topic today. So what I think is really important to set the stage for is that when we think about this world of AI and leading other humans in it, I think it's cool to go back to our roots a bit. Human beings, we have been incredibly capable of adapting alongside technologies. In fact, we have brought technologies into this world and it's introduced disruptions. And as a result, we've had to evolve alongside with it, right? You can look back to centuries ago to think about all these cool technological evolutions that have driven us forward as a species. And I just think it's really cool just to kind of go back to that history a little bit and just, consider how capable we've been to make these adjustments, these steps forward with technology alongside of us. In fact, we've been really good at bringing technology to the table and making sure it's had a proper place at our table, right? As we've gone ahead and stepped into this, this world that we live in. As new technologies come along, we adapt, we evolve, we integrate. Now, in this space of AI, I do think it's worth recognizing, though, that the rate of change, the rate of integration is intense, right? If we look at this chart here, and this is just from October of 25, this last year, this industry is valued at about $250 billion today, and it's expected in about 5 years' time to quadruple to over $1 trillion. And so no wonder many of us are probably feeling like this guy. It's overwhelming. We live in this constant state of FOMO, right? That we're going to be missing out on stuff, that we need to be scrambling to catch up with it all. And so no doubt, right? It is an overwhelming world out there. And it's hard to think about, how do I just kind of get centered? How do I just get balanced in this world of AI that's racing along? Let alone help my people get centered, let alone help my people get balanced and feel like they're really integrating this well and responsibly and so on. So I just want to acknowledge that this is a intense time, right? Compared to other maybe evolutions that we've gone through with technology. Now, alongside all that, though, right, it's important to also point out that we as humans, while we are not exponentially changing, we as humans are living a very linear path that we've done for, the entirety of our time as a human being. Right? We know that we are experiencing different life stages. We are entering life stages, we are exiting life stages, and so on as we kind of move down this linear path of being a human. And I think that's an important thing to capture here, because one of the things that we've done historically, regardless of technology in the world, is as we are changing in our life stages and so on, we know how instinctively to find inner circles of support. We reach out, right? We collect inner circles around us that are basically our communities of people that we can trust, that we can lean on when life is changing and evolving around us, regardless of technology. Just as our own biology is changing, we instinctively, for centuries, have leaned on inner circles of support to adapt, to change, to move forward and figure things out when they're messy, when they're hard, when they're confusing, and so on. And so I just think that's, again, it's an important point of inspiration just to think about what we do instinctively. Now, in the business world, in our workplaces, what we've coined as for our inner circles is we call inner circles kind of our personal board of directors. That's kind of a fancy name, right? If you go to Smart Brief or the Harvard Business Review or any of these other resources on this screen, a fancy kind of technical term for inner circle is this board of directors. It's a small, intentional group of trusted advisors who help us navigate our careers, life decisions, and so on. People that can offer perspective, support, and so on. And so I think, this kind of becomes an interesting kind of thing to be thinking about, right? As we kind of think about our world leading with AI, if we think about the changes around us with technology, but not only the changes we have going on as human beings and our instinct to kind of lean into those inner circles, we can get a lot of value from thinking about this world of a personal board of directors. Now, I'm not going to get into the weeds on what this looks like and some of the structural things. If you want to do that, you can look at an 11-minute video by David Wheatley, who did this not too long ago. It's episode 211 on the Humanergy Leadership podcast. But this is a great space. If you're just kind of hearing about this for the first time, you can lean on this resource by going to YouTube and just looking us up, Humanergy Leadership Podcast, in episode 211. But this does frame up kind of the traditional ways of thinking of a personal board of directors. And it's kind of a really helpful way to kind of center ourselves and kind of just get a feel for why this can be valuable and useful in our lives and so on. Again, this idea of bringing together an inner circle. And so when I've been prepping for today and just thinking about, again, this important work of changing alongside technology, evolving alongside technology, going through various life stages myself and so on, and the value of these personal boards of directors, I wanted to kind of, point out three important things as we go forward, leading in this AI-driven world. One, I think we need to honor our evolution as a human being right now, moving through these life stages. We need to continue to lean on our instincts of gathering an inner circle to support us through change, regardless of technology. And while doing that, we also should make a serious push as leaders to make sure AI has a really strategic role on our personal board of directors. And if we're not doing that today, or if we're not doing that already, this next part here is about how do we do that well for us? How are we going to do that in ways that are strategic and intentional and so on? Because of all the noise around us, we only have so much time to do this work well. And so when I think personally, what this starts to look like for me, this is my group, this is my family on the screen right now. These are the people that I care more about than anything else in the world. And when I think about where my wife and I are at right now, trying to move through various life stages and lead in this space and in our world, we have 4 healthy parents, and we're very lucky for that. 2 of them are in their mid-70s, 2 are in their late 70s, and so on. And so we know as a life stage, my wife and I very much are going to be going through a very hard set of years. We're going to see a lot of transition, a lot of change in our life, right? When it comes to these important people on the screen. Our kids are going to have to experience that as well, right? We're going to be very much in the kind of squarely in that sandwich generation, trying to move through a very complex world. Regardless of AI, it's just a complex world, right? Inheriting that space that many of us have to go through in life. Okay? So when I've thought about this, right, and again, getting to that idea of inner circle, personal board of directors, and so on, I started to think about how do I really establish this then, given the context I'm living through, how do I really establish this and make this useful to me? So the first thing I was thinking about is let's get away from thinking about family members and team members serving on my board of directors. I want to get outside that a little bit. I want to actually kind of make sure I'm attracting and bringing in people that live outside of my world a bit more so that I can really draw from the strength and perspective and diversity of thought and thinking that can be really helpful through these life transitions. And then I kind of built these 3 categories around this to be thinking about, all right, what types of people do I need in my life to navigate this change, to really be successful moving through my own growth as a human being, but also just the hardships of, aging and so on, and seeing, again, older parents, moving through those stages as well. So the first category was high trust partners. I need to recruit and gather confidential sharing of life event or people that can be high trust in the way that I can confidentially share kind of my life events and more or less have people that can help and support me through emotional highs and lows. All of us kind of need that, right, as human beings and so on. How can I find growth people that can help support me and help me be accountable to personal and career goals? And lastly, how can I find or recruit a group of advisors or directors that can serve as transactional partners? More or less people that can give me timely access to knowledge and expertise for temporary projects that can move things along that are going to be important for me as I'm working through change in my life and so on. Okay. High trust partners, these are more long term. These are people that we lean on for mutual support. It's ongoing, there's no agenda. Growth partners, these can be long term or short term. It's kind of but we kind of use these and lean on these relationships with structured check ins, establishing clear goals, and so on. And transactional partners are kind of as needed, specific requests, defined endpoints, and so on. And what that can start to look like, right? And when we think about it in more traditional terms, these are our closest friendships, perhaps, that we've grown up for, decades with, people that we can really lean on, people that we can reach out to for a hug, to pick us up, and so on when we're working through those emotional highs and lows. Growth partners could look like financial advisors. They could look like fitness coaches and so on. Like these models exist today. We've leaned on these types of people in our life before that help us kind of grow into and achieve certain goals. And then transactional partners, a lawyer, for instance, could be like a transactional partner. If I'm trying to, you know, take care of certain things that require that expertise, it's temporary, it's transactional, and so on. But those are the types of partners I might need for various points in life, as I move into various stages and so on. And so specifically when it relates to, again, the changes we're moving through in our life as human beings, kind of inheriting that space over time, I thought specifically about a board of directors that not only has traditional human beings to step into those roles, but then also integrating really intentional strategic partners from an AI perspective. And that's what these red chairs represent. So this is an example that I'm sharing with you, but it's very real to me. My high trust partners, I have 4 of them in my life. When I look at growth partners today, I have 6 of them in my life. 3 of those are AI. And when I look at transactional partners, again, 4, but 2 of those are dedicated to having heavy reliance on a strategic AI partnership. And more specifically, when I think about specific things that are important for the life stage I'm in and the changes that I'm inheriting, I think about these AI partners that are in the middle of the screen here. One being a fitness coach. I have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. I don't have a lot of time for the gym, but I do have health goals and things that are important to me. So I can build, and I am building a relationship with AI to help me be creative about my thinking, help me learn about some of the land features and goals that I have so that I can more or less mimic some things that I might do in a gym, but also just take advantage of it with the things around me in my household and using the land around me. End of life prep. When I think about how hard it is to be thinking about these things and being prepared to do the hard things and the important things with my parents and my wife's parents and so on, I am building, more or less a strategic partner, a strategic asset to help me think through and be very thoughtful about the types of conversations I need to have with my parents and the type of work we need to do together as partners, moving through these phases together. The last one down there on the growth partners is more of a cultural and political challenger. We live in very polarized times. We all have these big reactions of things we might hear and that are out there in the world. And I can have a lot of biases and judgments around those. So how can I have a political and cultural challenger to help open my perspective and keep me more open-minded so that I can be a better leader, a better father, a better community member who doesn't walk around so judgy, right? And so AI can serve a very strategic, partnership in these various ways. And then when I think about transactional partners, trying to be a better steward with the earth, but also save money so that we are, putting our money in the right ways for our kids and our parents and so on. Using a home energy use auditor is a very important kind of partnership I'm using right now just to kind of help me see opportunities where I can make different choices with our patterns at home. And then a travel and adventure concierge is another transactional partner, one that can more or less keep me aware of things that we can be doing right now today before our parents' health starts to fail, so that we can take advantage of building some great memories together before we're more on lockdown when things are happening with our parents' health and so on. So this is the way I think about this kind of, personal board of directors, these strategic partners, human and AI integrated together, all at the table, helping me move through life stages together. And the more I can do this work with these strategic partners and become more skilled in leaning on AI, I become a much more authentic role model for the people that I'm leading and supporting and guiding, and helping them integrate, AI in meaningful ways and in intentional ways that help them grow and navigate the hard changes that we have to navigate as human beings. And that's the trick, right? I think we can't get caught up in the FOMO trap with AI. We're never going to keep up with all the tools. What we can do is make strategic choices about the tools that we integrate into our life to get the most value possible as we're moving through these life stages that are hard and messy and challenging, and be better prepared to do so, so that we can be role models, so that we can be guides for other people that are trying to do the work of integrating AI really well as well. I think that's the trick, that's the value. And so as we move forward, what I would offer when you're trying to integrate this AI supported inner circle, this AI supported board of directors, be curious about your life stage right now and the challenges you're working through. Number two, take note of your personal board of directors that are already in place and the type of support they're providing. Whether you've realized it or not, right? People are already in your inner circle and you're already leaning on them for certain things and gaining certain things, right? As you're moving through and addressing these complexities in your world. Identify gaps in support is number three. I think number four then is prioritize the gaps you need to address, and then immediately ask the question, where can AI play a role immediately? Right, to fill them. And that's more or less what I was doing, trying to map the tables out that I had provided and just think about where can I fill those gaps that AI can play a really strategic role in right now. And then I think number five is probably the most important one here, is block time for consistent experimentation. If we're not having regular appointments with AI right now, this is the trick to get more integrated, more versed, more skilled. We have to understand our intention with AI and how it can create value in our lives. And then number two, we have to be dedicated to the practice of integrating it as a partner to get better and better, or else we will undermine the value that we can gain from it. If we're just going to dabble, it doesn't become a strategic partner or a strategic asset. If we're going to actually dedicate ourselves to being a practitioner, we're going to make great leaps and bounds. And so as we close today, I just read this the other day. This is from an author, Jeff Woods, who wrote the book, The AI-Driven Leader. It's a great read. I know Lance is reading it right now. I read it a couple of years ago now, it seems like. But most AI tools don't matter. That's not judgment, it's pattern recognition. Keeping up with every new release rarely creates advantage. Turning a tool into a strategic asset does. And that's, I think, the path that we need to be on when it comes to thinking about how we lead other humans in an AI-driven world, is to make sure we're leading with AI as a strategic asset and not just a bunch of disparate tools that are actually getting in the way and creating a lot of noise.
That was the Humanergy Leadership Podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe and visit humanergy.com for many more resources.